100th Meridian is an open world immersive documentary that unpacks the hardships and conflicting interests brought on by the longest running drought in the American West, specifically focusing on Colorado and where the name comes from, the 100th Meridian. So essentially everything past roughly where the Dust Bowl started, so mid-Kansas. And the project follows the farmers who work the land and really the courage they show in the face of a dwindling source of water and historical inequities within 3 iconic watersheds. So this is the map of Colorado and New Mexico to the south. And to the right, you have the Arkansas River Basin, which is where one of the stories unfolds, the story of Bob and the Ogallala Aquifer. In the center, we have the Rio Grande or the San Luis Valley, where Rhonda's story unfolds, which we'll show in a second. And to the west, we have the Ute Mountain Ute Farm and Ranch, one of the largest farms in Colorado. So this is a story really about family heritage and loss. 6 generations of farmers having to sell off their land because of dwindling water, of the collapse of the American dream, unsustainable agriculture, the aridification of the West, inequitable water rights, and also, as I said, the courage that's driving these communities to move forward with new plans.
When the lake dried up and didn't have any water available, we didn't have much water available in the river either. The aquifer is way over appropriated. Last year they finished up a water study and the governor proclaimed we only had enough water for about 10 more years. First in time, first in right is kind of the way it goes. So the older the water right, the more right we have to the water. No minimum flow, just all they want, they can have. They tested my landlord's well, which is the worst quality water in the state because of all that sulfites. Then she said that was before they tested our well, and it's the worst quality water in the state now. But bad quality water is better than none at all.
You look at the people that were here before us, the Anasazis, the Hopi, the Pueblo, in different parts. You see their timeline and how things changed so much, the droughts that they've had to live through. They never thought that lake would ever be dry. Nobody ever thought it would be dry. The water didn't come.
I think the percentage was 8% that we got. If we don't produce anything out here, then everybody's going to be affected hard. It puts us out of work.
Because of this drought, there's certain things that we had to do. Not just the crops you see, but the people that you're having to lay off or let go for that time. They're good people.
My father was actually born at the ranch just east of us, which has been in the family since the late 1800s. We have 2 ditches on the farm that feeds the water, Calvino Atencio and Felipe Villalpando.
Our local farmers and ranchers know that it's bad when they see the shape of our bird on the Culebra Peak diminishing, and it's already almost completely gone. And here we are, mid-May.
Producers I work with in Conejos County, they actually use that as a sign as well, or indicator. Yeah, when they see that it's disappearing, they know that their water is running dry as well.
Native Americans like myself understand that water is life. We're all in it together. We live here on this earth. We shouldn't be fighting over water and resources at all. We should be helping each other.
Great. And so, as I mentioned, the impetus for this project really was looking first at the Dust Bowl. This was sort of one of the early sort of climate level disasters that was unfolding in the 100th Meridian area. And we began seeing sort of similar parallels with farms being abandoned in Western Kansas, particularly in Eastern Colorado as well. And that was sort of both the early aesthetic explorations as well as in terms of the story. And the story has evolved significantly from there, where we're now looking at a lot of what's happening in those 3 specific areas and how these communities are really adapting and pushing forward with new ideas. With Rhonda Lobato, she comes from a tradition of acequias, which is ditch-based agriculture that comes from a Spanish tradition, and really codifying what it means to cooperatively own water rights. Eric White, the hay manager from Mountain Ute Ranch, is working closely with the community as well as the farm to ensure that there's long-term viability for the farm, and as well as an important economic resource for the tribe. And then Bob Price is working with the community also to address some of the concerns around the Ogallala Aquifer and what it means in terms of water rights. So why RT3D? I think for us, there's a couple of real key components. One is really to bring viewers to the heart of the story, not just from an immersive perspective, but really to understand how the landscape and the environment is affecting these climate issues and really affecting the drought from snowpack to water runoff, or in particular, one of the more challenging areas is the risk to fire. And then using simulations and science data, much of which has actually been commissioned by the community itself to explore this phenomenon within an open world environment and to offer other ways of understanding the data models. And then, to build the world from the ground up so that we can highlight the connections. How are these different communities related? What are some of the common problems and how are they tackling them in different ways? In terms of the interactive, this is an episodic immersive experience that combines verite footage and an open world environment. And we've broken it down into 3 distinct ways of viewing within one story: the first person perspective, the 10,000-foot eagle eye view, and interstitial states. But let's keep moving forward. Mint, do you want to talk about some of our world building?
Yeah. So we have created many prototypes testing out various available tools, plugins, open source, GIS, and using 3D scanning techniques like photogrammetry and LiDAR scanning to accurately collect, process, and bring these real-world data into the game engine. So what you're looking at here is a photogrammetry model of one of our collaborators, Senator Cliff Simpson. Next, John. And because we know we are going for realistic aesthetics look and feel, we want to correctly represent the landscape, the natural terrain, the trees, the bushes that is local to the story. So we see a value in making our own biome kit versus using available starter 3D assets. And a biome kit is basically a collection of 3D assets to assemble a 3D world. Yep, next. We are working with Tailwater, who is our scientific partner to bring forward these scientific data sets. For instance, land use assessment, the effect of wildfire data sets, and turn them into something that tell a story visually and remove the noise from these data and highlight useful information. Yeah, next. And yeah, we tried to come up with 2 main research questions, which is very difficult. And the first one is, where are ethical implications and responsibilities in creating a world from the perspective of authenticity, and how can we execute this? And the second question is, how can we address human representation and verite within the game engine, moving away from the uncanny valley? And in terms of our timeline, we are currently in production and we hope to wrap the project up by the end of next year. And John and I are the core team. We have many collaborators. Next page, John. Consists of community, science, and immersive advisors. We are also working with our local partners, Tailwater, Colorado College, Conservancy District, and Open Source Arts, and just to name a few.
Thank you so much, Mint.
And yes, water is life.